Meantime, the Trump administration now appealing a Hawaii federal judge's ruling, blocking a revised extreme vetting order. The appeal goes before the San Francisco-based Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. President Trump is already appealing a separate case in Maryland. So, joining me now, Associate Professor at the South Texas College of Law in Houston and an adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute, Josh Blackman. Josh, so let's start with sanctuary cities. You've got some of the, I guess the cities are saying, we're not going to follow federal law, we're not going to cooperate. But is that different when you get a mayor or a city council person, when they come out and openly say, do not follow the federal law? Can they be prosecuted personally?
Oh, thanks for having me. There are two constitutional issues at play here. The first is that the federal government cannot require that cities and mayors enforce federal law. Justice Scalia explained for the Supreme Court that the Clinton administration could enforce sheriffs to run background checks before people buy guns. So that's one principle. But there's a second principle that says states cannot frustrate the enforcement of federal law. Some years ago, Arizona attempted to assist the Obama administration with enforcing immigration law. Instead, the Holder Justice Department filed suit saying you are getting in the way. And the Supreme Court ruled that no, the states cannot frustrate. So what actually happens here is that Attorney General Sessions can sue these cities and say you are getting in the way of the enforcement of federal law. And that's actually what likely will happen.
So where is that? Forgive me again, these court decisions in the past, is this going to go to the Supreme Court, or are we going to have to take a couple years to go through the whole court appellate process and finally to the Supreme Court to decide what to do about sanctuary cities?
Absolutely. We've already had lawsuits filed by Seattle and San Francisco stating openly that they will not comply with these various laws. So it will be probably years before these issues are resolved as they work their way up to the Supreme Court. The Sessions Justice Department has its work cut out for it.
It sure does. Let's talk about the travel ban 1.0 and 2.0. So now we've got Hawaii, and you've got, was it Virginia, Maryland? You got all these different places. The ninth, we know, is the most liberal circuit court. The fourth used to be the most conservative. Can the Trump administration appeal the fourth and use that as law, or is that just going to put them in pit against the ninth, and therefore we're going to the Supreme Court on this as well?
I think my answer is the same as before. We're going to the Supreme Court. The Fourth Circuit, which is based in Richmond, Virginia, used to be quite conservative, no longer. They took the unorthodox step of saying, instead of starting with a three-judge panel, let's hear it in front of the entire court, all the judges in the court at once, what's called en banc. So this case will likely be teed up for Supreme Court review maybe the next couple months. So by that point, Judge Gorsuch should already be on the bench, and we should have a full 9 justices to hear the case.
So if that's the case, are you saying that this is going to go to the Supreme Court this year?
Depending the emergency posture, this could actually be decided before the summertime. This could go up very quickly. You have to remember, this was an emergency appeal that was filed, and this could be resolved quite possibly by the time the summer is over.
Well, but you've got so many states with so many different rulings, and the lawsuits from these cities and everything else. It seems like this is going to be mired basically in the legal world for a long time. So in the meantime, can Attorney General Sessions cut off the money?
So whether he can cut off the money depends on 3 factors. First, how much money is he withholding? Second, what kind of notice does he give to the states? And third, how close is the connection between the withdrawal of funds and the federal and the state program at issue? The Supreme Court has said that most of the time, the federal government can take money to the states or take it away. But the states here will argue that this is coercive, that they're being forced to implement federal law.